And what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Toot. And we say good morning. You're listening to Power Talks, where truth is in the plug. I've lost it all together. Where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And it is a good morning, and it is Friday morning when we have open mic day, and Melody is right here with us. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning, and how are you this morning, and how are all the listeners out there? I want all the listeners out there to now say, we're great.
Good morning, teacher. Oh, my goodness. Well, it is a good morning. The sun is shining here in Missouri. It's a little nippy out, but the sun is shining. I think it's going to get up to 40s today and a little warmer tomorrow, which I'm okay with, but I know winter is looming over us, and I'm not a winter person. But we have to have winter to get back to spring, and so we will do that. But today, Melody, is Happy Bill of Rights Day.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought we ought to at least share the Bill of Rights and a little bit of history on the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights came to be because they weren't convinced that the Constitution was enough. And that's just very best simply put. It was in the 1780s that James Madison helped organize the Constitutional Convention, which produced a new Constitution to supplement the ineffective Articles of Confederation. For his role in drafting the first 10 amendments to the Constitution during the first Congress, Madison is known as the father of the Bill of Rights. He wasn't happy with what had gone down, so he wanted the Bill of Rights, and even then they were afraid it wasn't enough. And I thought we might share the Bill of Rights. Would you like me to do that now, or you want to wait a little bit?
I think we should do that now.
Okay. We're going to share the first 10, which were the original Bill of Rights. The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And that is so important, and we're hearing quite a bit about the freedom of speech, and everybody thinks it's so that you don't insult them, but it has nothing to do with being insulted. And the Second Amendment is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It isn't about hunting Bambi. It's about your freedom to bear arms for the security of a free state. Has nothing to do with hunting. Amendment 3. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Now, they had a lot of things going on back there where the king was infringing in so many parts of their lives, and that was one of them. So that's why that is there. Amendment 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons of things to be seized. I'm thinking of some of the investigations that are going on now where they just hammer down the door and come in and start looking for anything they can find to go against somebody. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment of indictment and a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice but in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed by the nature be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And I think we have talked about that recently, about some of these people coming out making accusations and wanting to remain anonymous. I don't think they should be allowed. I don't think the accusation should be taken seriously unless it's from a minor. Amendment 7. In suits of common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. I thought of this one, Melody, when we were talking about the cake bakers and the florists and some of these others that were being sued, and their lives and their livelihoods were being ruined. And I thought that was excessive. I thought that was cruel and unusual punishment for the crime. I didn't believe there was a crime. But I went back to this Eighth Amendment, and I thought that's just not right. Number 9, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And number 10, the kicker here. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. And we stand on these Bill of Rights so much of the time, and yet we forget to read them and to study them. They're very simple, actually. They're very simple. Our founding fathers had such a great insight. Well, it was because they were living exactly what they were trying to get stopped. Anyway, happy Bill of Rights Day to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
Yes, it is. And, there was... for Pete's sake, if I can bring it up here, remember the Bundy case?
Yes.
The defendants are turning the tables a little bit on the FBI, and they are demanding compensation. And I'm not sure, for some reason, it basically went blank on me, but my computer... I'm just having a lot of issues with this thing this week. Boy, I can't miss any more work. Everybody turns on me.
It's because you took off. It's still on vacation. You took the weekend off, and it's still on vacation. While you're figuring that out, I want to give out the phone number.
I have it here.
Go ahead. Okay,
but
go
there
ahead.
were 2 men were acquitted of charges in the 2014 standoff.
Yes.
That involved the Bundy situation, and now they're suing the FBI and former Director James Comey for malicious prosecution, claiming that the Bureau presented false evidence in their case and destroyed exculpatory evidence. There are a Montana resident, Ricky Lovelin, and Idaho resident, Stephen Stewart. They were cleared of 10 charges they faced, but they spent a year and a half in jail without bail. And that was reported by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. They were accused of driving from other states to Bunkerville to support Bundy, who was under fire from the government for allegedly trying to halt federal agents from rounding up his cattle. So now you have lawsuits have been filed on their behalf by lawyer Larry Klayman under the Federal Tort Claims Act. So being held without bail and certainly seems to be... not part of the Bill of Rights, I would say. So
no, and neither is all the taking of the land. they take all this land and set it aside. And the Bill of Rights obviously says, life, liberty, and property. When the preamble says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I'm sorry, that's in the Declaration of Independence, I do believe. It's they wavered over whether to use property or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They wanted to use property and prosperity. And so when I repeat that, I usually throw that in there. But property is in the Bill of Rights, and it is important. Land rights, property rights were extremely important to the Founding Fathers because they were being treated as serfs on their property, and the king hadn't even stepped foot on the land, And so that's kind of where we've fallen back to. Where we're serfs on the land. You pay the taxes, and I know we know that that's unconstitutional, and they fine you for this. We have all these departments of alphabet bureaucracy constantly throwing things at us, and with regulations, and there's just other taxes, regulations, license permits, and all these things, and the fines if you don't do what they say, which I think is extortion. And it goes on and on and on, and it's just something that we need to all sit back and read that Bill of Rights, and we need to all read that Declaration of Independence, and we need to study our Constitution, because we always want to scream about how it's unconstitutional or this or that, but unless you've read your Constitution to know it, and it is very simple. And I need to do it again, so I need to do it as well, because I'm just as guilty of putting it to the side as anyone else. But anyway, happy Bill of Rights Day. So I find it interesting when we do sit and read them, what they have to say and what we see going on in our nation today, and how these things are put aside constantly. This gun control issue is brought up, and just constantly that it's they're trying to infringe on that right, and it was nothing to do with personal protection or hunting. It was everything to do to protect a free state, security of a free state. Of course, we are a state. Individually, we are a state. It's sovereign. But anyway, I find that real interesting, and I'm excited that we still have that piece of paper.
And big government, they you're right. They try to take our weapons, and look what they've done to gold.
Yes.
Gold is very important in their world. I can remember during the crisis, Bernanke, they talked about gold and the dollar. He was talking, and it's like, no, I watch gold every day, because gold is a threat to them. Because with gold they can't carry on their little theft from the citizens of this country. And so, gold is they understand the value of gold. Unfortunately, the people of this country don't, and many other people around this country don't. They don't understand that it's going to play a very big, important part in our country, and how it's going to affect people if they don't preserve them, from the fiat currency. And government knows. They don't like gold, they don't like guns, because with those two things you have independence and freedom, and that they can't have. So it's, so they are in the same, gold is very important. It's very dangerous to them. They don't want money backed by gold, because then they have to be accountable, and they can't do all the things that they do. And so, so it is very important. Those is one of the biggest fundamentals. With gold, you truly are free. You are financially free from the system. I don't think the system is good for. They're not looking out for the people that are in the system.
Well, we know they're not looking out for us people. We're going into a break. It is Open Mic Friday, 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218. Join Melody and Beth Ann in conversation, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, in the good morning. It is a good morning. And we're going to go back to Melody. We were talking about freedom with gold and silver. We're going to go back to that, and then we're going to carry on with some other things. It is Open Mic Friday, 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Melody.
Well, earlier in this week, or last week, there was reports that people were selling their gold in order to buy Bitcoin. Today I saw an article, oh no, they're selling their Bitcoin to buy gold. I don't believe either one is true. I mean, there might be a few, but I don't think the mass of people who buy gold and silver are selling it to. I think people who own gold and silver are a little bit, they're a little bit smarter than that, to sell it, to buy it for something that's not even real. But the markets are going crazy, and I think we're going to continue to see stronger markets up through Christmas. They have to get this tax thing done before the 22nd. That's when the spending budget and everything else is going through. Strong markets this morning, all based on they think they're going to get the approval today. If they don't, well, then they have at least until next Friday. And we really, people, I hope the tax bill would work. I hope it saves people money, but does it even, the common sense, just deal a little common sense, and that will tell you that there's no money to pay for it. I mean, when we're in the amount of debt that we are, and these big businesses, these big corporations, I mean, they're already saving. They don't pay 30%, 35% in taxes. They probably pay less than, they probably pay around 14% in taxes. So, they're already getting the deals. They're already getting the loopholes. And so I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I just can't imagine the optimism of this tax bill. But you're really not getting the truth what's involved in this tax bill. They're just only talking about what people want to hear. What else is in it? It's 500-some plus pages, so it can't just be, a few little things that benefit the middle class. And so, what really, you don't hear them talk anymore about the estate tax, whether that's going to be eliminated and so forth. I don't think, for one, that should be eliminated. But so, again, I think we're going to see a lot of optimism going in through the holidays. Most people won't even be paying attention what happens on the 22nd. And then I think when we come back for the first of the year, people need to pay attention. We do have gold and silver IRAs for those of you who have your retirement in IRA accounts. You can convert that paper money into real gold and silver. So call us on that. You see a lot of people, we always get from the end of the year up until April, we get a lot of people opening up IRA precious metals accounts. So that is available to you. I probably don't talk about them as much as perhaps I should, but it is a way to convert your funds into gold and silver. So give us a call at 1-800-375-4188. And we have all kinds of great prices. We've seen pressure in gold and silver, and so take advantage of the lower prices. They were higher this morning. Let me go back and see if I can pull up my gold and silver prices for today. Gold was up this morning by about $7, which is
wow.
A pretty nice day, but that was before the markets opened. So let's see where we're at today. Well, yeah, it came back a little bit. You have the Dow up 140 some points, but gold is still higher as silver, so, but still low compared to where they were just a month or so ago. So 800-375-4188. We were talking prior to
we have a caller if you want to go to caller first.
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
Okay, we have Joe from Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm about 54% okay today, and how are you?
Well, you're improving, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. It's good to be a little bit better. Okay, good. Well, what I called about was I would like to answer something that John from Ohio said the other day. And he said that the gap between the rich and the poor in this country now is wider than it's ever been before and growing, and that's why we need socialist redistribution of the wealth. And I agree that the gap between the rich and the poor is wider than it's ever been before, and that is a problem, and I think something needs to be done about that. But I think it can be shown that the reason we have this growing gap, is because we've been following socialist policies, and that there is a solution to them. The real solution is to get back to the original plan of our country, back to the plan of our founding fathers, and this would be, and this is a real way to solve this problem. And here's why. Okay, one of the big reasons that we have the growing gap between the rich and poor is free trade, our trade policies. We don't have all the good-paying manufacturing jobs in this country anymore that we used to have. And Karl Marx said in 1848 that he was in favor of free trade because it would exaggerate the difference, the gap between the rich and the poor. It would widen that gap, and it would intensify class warfare, and that's what he was after, class warfare. And so that's one bit of evidence, that these free trade policies that we have now are socialistic, Marxistic. And the other thing is that the NAFTA and GATT were obviously passed to implement Agenda 21 of the United Nations, which came out, just a year before NAFTA and GATT were passed. And Agenda 21 of the United Nations, if you read it, it calls for free trade. It calls for the industrialized countries like the United States to get rid of their protectionist policies so that their wealth can be sucked out of them and, it's transferred to third world countries. And so that was, and of course the United Nations wants a socialistic world government. So that's another way in which following socialistic ideas has increased the gap between the rich and the poor in this country. And then another thing is that another point of the Communist Manifesto, one of the planks of the Communist Manifesto, is a central bank. Now,
yes.
as our founding fathers conceived this country, we would not have a central bank. Congress would coin gold and silver money, and that would be our money. And what a central bank does, it allows the bankers to create money out of nothing, loan it out for profit, and therefore get immensely, immensely, immensely richer than anybody else, because they've got that money machine to create money out of nothing for themselves. And then they use this money to fund left-wing causes, and that's why the left-wing progressive culture has come to so dominate the country, because it's so heavily funded by the bankers and the people that they're funnel money to. And they're able to funnel so much money because they have this money machine, which is unconstitutional, by which they can create money out of nothing. So again, if we would go back to the plan of our founding fathers, so that nobody could create vast amounts of money for themselves out of nothing, and then give it to their favorite causes and favorite people and favorite corporations, then we wouldn't have such a gap between the rich and the poor, because then it would be more a matter of people would have what they earned and not what they were able to get, by serving the bankers. So that's why I say that the real solution to this growing gap between the rich and the poor is not socialism, not socialist redistribution of the wealth. I'm not in favor of taking away money that somebody has rightfully earned from them and giving it to somebody that hasn't earned it. But, I do think something needs to be done about this growing gap between the rich and the poor, and the way to do it is to get back to our original system as our founding fathers gave it to us.
I think so.
I think you're absolutely correct. I can't agree with you more. If we went back to if we went back to the beginning, if we went back to the basics, including the Constitution, the Bible, and solid money, we wouldn't. We would get back to. We would eliminate our problems. A lot of them.
And this is an example of the thinking of what's going on. Herein, Rubio's threatening not to sign the tax bill, the tax reform bill, and we can talk about all the ins and outs of what's in that if we really knew, and the fact that it's 500 pages, it just blows my mind. But Rubio, he wants to increase the portion of the basic $2,000 per child tax credit that would go to low-income families. So in the current bill, as it is right now, families that pay little or no income tax, they get only $1,100 per child. I never got that. I never got that with my 5. Anyway, Rubio wants that amount increased, but he didn't specify the amount. So here's that logic and thinking, and of course they always, you want good for the children, it's for the children. These are the families that pay little or no income tax, and they're going to get $1,100, say they've got 5 kids, and they're going to get $1,100 per child back, and Rubio doesn't think that's enough money. He wants to increase that. Well, I had long before said that Marco Rubio is a rhino in training, and it looks to me like he is stepping up, and he's the new John McCain. And it just irritates me that they're really ready to spend your money. They're sitting there wealthy themselves, but they're ready to take your money and give it away to somebody who's not earning any money because they're poor. And they need more money, and it's for the children. And as soon as they say for the children, everybody goes, well, I had 5 kids too. And I worked 2 jobs for a while. My husband worked a job, worked on weekends. I mean, we did whatever it took to make it, and still had trouble making ends meet. But to double the money given to these kids, to these families that are low income and don't pay into it. They don't pay income tax. No. So why should they get a refund?
And the problem is they don't talk about why these people need the funds. Let's get back to the basics. Why don't they have jobs to where they can support themselves? Why isn't there a living wage?
Right.
Why do we have these? But they don't do that. They just want to cover up, give more money, and take money from everybody else.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your call. We appreciate it so much, and being reminded that we need to get back to the basics of the Founding Fathers, and it's just, say people think that's going backwards, but I believe we've gone backwards as we've gone into the future. We've gotten more spoiled, we've gotten, complacent, and we got comfortable for a while, and we the people have trusted those we've elected way too long, and I think we're seeing now just how deep the deep state is and how serious they are about keeping their power and their control. And it's not just the Democrats. It's not just the Democrats, Marco Rubio. I never did like him.
No, absolutely.
The only time I liked him was when he was thirsty and drinking the water and he was nervous, and I thought, hey, I like that. He's normal. He's nervous in front of everybody. And, of course, they made fun of him for that. But I do believe he's been a rhino in training, and he's stepping up.
Well,
not going to sign
I mean, they're all groomed.
He doesn't like the president, so.
They're all chosen. They're all groomed, and it's a system that's been going on behind the scenes for a very long time. It's nothing new, and it's not going to go away. But we have to be aware of it and fight it the best we can, and to make these changes. So it's good to know about it, but don't think it's going to go away. Don't think there's going to be some sort of, magic wand that makes everything go away and everything comes back to the way that we would like it. It is a long-term battle. It has been since the Founding Fathers, and it will be. Yeah. For years to come, and it's just a matter of if the people of this country have the will to not just fight it, but to understand it, and to, and to educate. Because again, I go back to, the children. When you want to talk about children, let's go back to the youth. Let's go back to the millennials. Let's go back to, their thinking and their desire to embrace the system of the elite, the socialist elite, and they're getting brainwashed and thinking that our Constitution is archaic, that it's just a piece of paper. I mean, this is what they're being taught, and so it's up to the parents to to offset that and so forth, and, it's the same story. But I found this article yesterday. I thought it was kind of interesting. We're talking about, this is out of Chicago. This is CBS Chicago. And there have been some politicians that have recommended that because of the crime. Now, the article points out gun violence. They just don't say crime. They say gun violence. Not murders that people get stabbed, beaten up, and stuff like that. It's gun violence. And there's been some of those politicians in Chicago that have recommended to deploy the National Guard to help them quell the gun violence. But
unless it's an illegal alien.
Right.
And then it's just an object that became a weapon.
Yeah. But Cook County Commissioner Richard Boykin went further yesterday. He suggested that the United Nations send in peacekeepers in the face of what he called a quiet genocide. Boykin was traveling to New York to meet with Oscar Fernandez Taranco of Argentina, the UN Assistant Secretary General for Peacekeeping Support, to seek international help with horrific levels of shooting and other violent crime in West Side and South Side communities. He says he's hoping to appeal to the UN to actually come to Chicago and meet with victims of violence and maybe even possibly help out in terms of peacekeeping efforts, because he thinks it's so critical for us to make sure that these neighborhoods are safe. I thought that's what the police were for. Isn't that what the police are for?
Well, we need UN police, I guess. Oh,
he said the leaders in Chicago and Cook County have failed to protect many communities from violent crime. He goes on,
he is correct
he uses the word much, peacekeeping. He says, so we must protect these population groups, and that's what the United Nations does. They're peacekeeping forces. they know all about keeping the peace, and so we're hopeful that they'll hear our appeal. That's just frightening.
It is frightening. We have another caller. We have Lance from Texas. Lance, he says he's from Nowhere, Texas. Lance, are you just calling it Nowhere, or is that really the name of the town?
No, hi, ladies. It's not the name of the town. It's just the area.
Just Nowhere, that's kind of where I'm in, Missouri.
Texas is so big it has two time zones. But, hey, Joe from Arkansas is my man. I suggest him for a guest sometime. But he was right on it, and he got right to it, but let me finish his point for him. The banks are what's making us poor. The banks. It's the banks. Now you're like, Lance, how are you going to function without a bank? Well, about 1989, 99, I woke up, and I read an article by an old guy who was a gold and silver guy. It was on...
Careful now.
Gold Eagle or something. And it was the real Bills doctrine. This is how we got stuff accomplished, and production and economy and finished products before we had banks. Now, you don't know this, but it basically, to make a corporation at the founding, in say 1799, it was an act of Congress. Okay, you didn't just say I'm a corporation, I'm an LLC. You didn't do that. It was a bunch of rigmarole. You had a charter for 20 years. You had to prove that you were beneficial to society. And if you couldn't do that, they review your charter after 20 years. And if you couldn't do that and you showed that you were a parasite, they'd revoke your charter. Mm-hmm. So it's the banks that are strangling and sucking all the money. I've explained this on Mel's program, that if you create money at interest, but you don't create the interest, then what you have is a Ponzi scheme. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. And yay, Joe, go get them.
Oh, thank you, Lance, in Nowhere, Texas.
Thanks, Lance. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Lance.
Yeah,
well,
you're absolutely
go
correct.
ahead.
And it really does come back to the bankers. If you look at every recession this country ever had, every difficulty that this country's ever had, it ties back to the bank. And it's now we have the global banks, the Federal Reserve, and it's how do we change it?
Well, the American people first, we've got to educate everyone. They've got to understand. History is so important, and we've got to understand why the central bank and why the central government was so scary to the Founding Fathers. They did not want it, and there's a reason that they did not want it. And here we have fallen into that. I get a big kick out of everybody thinking that they don't like the way the president talks or tweets or how he's a little quick with his insults or his name calling or whatever, and I think back of Old Hickory Stick, Andrew Jackson. I'm fairly certain he probably didn't mince words. I'm fairly certain that he wasn't presidential, as they call it. And one thing that he was fighting was this central bank idea, and the central federal government. He was against that, and he was fighting it. And they had an attempt on his life, and you have to go back and look where we came from to understand some of this. But it looks like we have fallen asleep, and we have allowed this to creep up.
Well, we've fallen asleep, and we have allowed it to creep up, but also, they learn to manipulate, and, we were, hook, line, and sinker. They put a carrot, and everybody wants to do better. Everybody wants to, do better for their families, have better things for their children, and everybody wants to prosper and so forth, and that was the carrot that they put in front of everyone's noses, and we just, as long as we were getting what we thought was a share of the pie, or what they pretended to think that people thought that they were getting a piece of the pie. Well, they weren't. Or maybe they had, but the piece of the pie is getting smaller and smaller, and the pie is just about gone. And so but that's how the people were lured. They were put in positions. And I think this is what we're seeing going on right now. We talk about how people are struggling. They're working harder and harder. They can't get ahead. Inflation, they tell us there's no inflation, but, we continue to see, the packagings of products get, they're the same, but the insides of the product is getting smaller and smaller. The material of our clothes, you used to get great material. Now the material of our clothing is you can see through most of it, and yet the prices of clothing continue to go up. But hey, there's a good deal out there. It's 30% off this top, but they're paying pennies on the dollar for it. And it's just it's just such a corrupt system.
And the products are so cheaply made now, and I mean cheaply made. I mean, you get I bought a blouse here several years ago, and not one of the buttons stayed on it. Not one. Within the first time I wore it, the buttons they weren't sewn on there correctly. And I've had some where seams weren't finished, and you have to be careful because it's just cheaply done, and it's just a mess. We do have a caller. We have David in Iowa. David in Iowa, how are you today?
Pretty good. Hi, lady.
Hi, David. Are you a first-time caller? No.
Nope, I'm David from Iowa, Melody. You know me. I call
Oh, okay. Yes, I do. My apologies. It's Friday.
Your first time for Power Talks. Hey, it's first time for Power Talks, isn't he?
I'd like to change the subject just a little bit here. This is about these sexual things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Our boy Billy Clinton, he's terrible. We all know that.
Well, you know what, David? We're going into a break, so just hold your thought.
Yep, okay. We want to get to it. We want to talk about the sex scandals. We'll get to you in just a second. We're going into a break. It is Open Mic Friday, 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218. We'll talk about almost anything you want to talk about. And Melody, Beth Ann, and David will be waiting right here, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and David from Iowa. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with these sex scandals. David.
Yes, Bill Clinton is probably the king of all of these people. Obviously, all the raping he did to women is a terrible thing, but I rate that as number 2 compared to number 1. I'm going to read off page 96, a short paragraph. Bill Clinton in the early 2000s became quite personally close to Epstein, that's Jeffrey Epstein, whom he had met while he was still president in the 1990s. Clinton took 18 trips on Epstein's plane, which is known as the Lolita Express, for orgies with underage girls. He also gave Epstein 21 ways to contact him, basically sharing the phone numbers of all key people close to him. That's out of the book, The Clintons' War on Women by Roger Stone. Now, nobody's ever mentioned that on the air. I've never heard it anyplace.
Well, we did talk a little bit about his airplane trips, the pedophilia that was going on when the campaign was going on. It was mentioned a few times, but he's not a nice guy. And neither is Hillary Clinton. And neither are a lot of the Republicans either. They're just not nice people. But the Clintons, they will do anything for a buck to get rich. And they have sold this nation down. And they were in the middle of the Whitewater investigation when all of a sudden the Monica Lewinsky scandal came to be. And everybody forgot about Whitewater. Everybody just pushed that to the side. And then we had to concentrate on Lewinsky and her blue dress and listen to that stuff over and over and over again, like we are right now. What are they hiding?
That was actually relatively minor compared to the other stuff he did, that Monica Lewinsky stuff.
Oh, yeah. And yet that's what they impeached him for, was lying about Monica Lewinsky. The girl's life was ruined. Not that she doesn't hold some responsibility, but the girl's life was ruined.
Another thing in this book, this paragraph came from a chapter called Orgy Island. It's a 130-page chapter. That's worth the price of the book right there. But another thing in here, there's a section in the center with pictures, and it shows Chelsea Clinton. And it makes the case that Bill Clinton is not her father. Her father's Webster Hubbell. It shows pictures of her right next to Webster Hubbell. And she had plastic surgery to make her look more like Bill.
Huh, that's interesting.
This is really quite a book.
Now, Roger Stone, he's a talk show host out of New York or Pennsylvania or something, isn't he?
Pardon?
Roger Stone, who is he? Is he the talk show host that's out of New York?
No, he was part of the Trump people, and he was on Alex Jones a lot. I'm not sure exactly what he's been around a long time.
Yeah, but
he wrote another book. I think he has a talk show. Unless you think he was a Republican, which he was, he wrote a book called Jeb and the Bush Crime Family. So he wrote books on both of them.
I think he is a talk show.
Well, the thing of it is, we can point to, but they've all sold us out.
We've
had presidents that sold us out for a very long time. And as far as the sex goes, yeah, it's disgusting. It's, it's not something that normal people do. But I also believe that it probably is not a rare situation based on people of that, I'm not going to say caliber, but of that realm, of that, it's if we look at the sex trade, look at human trafficking for sex, look at, and again, it's a lot of it is because of the globalization and the different ideas and the ability. It's all about money. No one talks about human trafficking and when you ask yourself, why do kids and people and women, young women, go missing and things like that? And I think that it's a huge problem, but no one talks about it. But I mean it's. I think they do have these huge planes with orgies and all that kind of stuff. That's probably common.
Oh, I imagine it is.
Yeah, it's probably common. And even though it's disgusting to me, and I can't imagine, but when you get to a different level, to where you can have anything that you want, I mean, you can just snap your finger and things change. Your view of things, and it's I don't know. It's a sick, world, I guess, but it's there. And I don't think he's the only one. Now, yeah, he should be held to a certain level because he was president of the United States. And as everything that they do, you're right, they cheat, steal, lie to get and do anything they want for money. I get that, but it's probably more common than what we really want to admit or so forth.
Right. Well, there's so much going on, and they are not going to give up their power and their elitist ways without a fight, and we're seeing that fight going on, and it is disgusting. It really is disgusting. Thank you, David, for your call.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it.
And I think that's why I saw Buchanan write an article today, and I didn't read it, but the headline was, Trump isn't going to go away easy like Nixon did. Nixon went away easy, but Trump will fight. And you know what? His fight is a way of, with what David said, people finding out and learning about these people and what they do and the horrible things that they do. And so it's a good thing. So, I appreciate David calling in and sharing that with the listeners.
I do. I appreciate it. And bringing it back to mind, but I think we have to also realize that a lot of these scandals that are coming out, they're distractions, and they are meant to tear down a person's credit, character. Not that some of them haven't already done that.
Yeah, I don't know if they have character.
They have character, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a character, but it's like you said earlier this week or last week. I can't remember which week it was. You said it. The fact that what Al Franken did, and all of these, and by the way, Megyn Kelly's leading the way now that she's made that Time Person of the Year. She's leading the way and re-interviewing all these women that their stories were already debunked. But we're going to go there again and bring this up against President Donald Trump and try to get him out of office. They're going to do whatever they can to get him out of office.
Yeah, they are. And
let me say something to our listeners. What you do, it will come back to haunt you. That's why you have to live above reproach. And no, none of us have done that every day of our lives. I'm no saint. But it does come back to haunt you. So you have to be careful about the decisions that you make. And you're not the only one who will be hurt by them. So, okay. Done with my mommy speech.
Oh, come on. Let's hear some more.
Go to your room until you can change your attitude.
We all need a mommy speech every now and then.
That's what I say on CSC Talk Radio. I'm pulling a mom card out right now.
But you know what? We live in an evil world.
We do.
And, you know, these are, you know, a Satanism. We live in a world that, you know, the other side. You know, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, you know, it's here today. And so when we see these actions of these people, I mean, it kind of tells you and confirms that this is where we are. It's not rare. It's you know, and you'll see that they will be accountable one day. One day they will be accountable for their actions.
It does. It does come back, yeah. I'm going to, before we go off the air, we're just about out of time. Next Friday, December 22nd, we want to have Christmas memories. So we would like for you to call in and say, you know, really briefly, because we're going to try and get as many calls as we can. What is your favorite Christmas memory or your favorite Christmas gift, whether it's one you received or one you gave? Just something like that.
Your favorite
Christmas song? Yeah. I wonder how many grandma got run over by reindeers. Anyway, next Friday we want to do that, and we really want to hear from you and have a great Christmas show that day. Melody, we're out of time. I hear the music of Free playing, so we're going to have to let you go. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Melody, are you going to stay home this weekend and behave yourself?
I'm staying home.
All right. We will see you all on Monday morning.
Bye-bye.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.